Hey guys, at the time of this video, the official US version of X-Dive will finally be coming out. The funny thing is, I noticed that a lot of YouTubers and people on social media were reacting as if this was an entirely new game, despite the fact that it's been out for a couple of years now. Then again, the game wasn't available globally, but it's also incredibly easy to play. Like, download the APK and just run it. So as someone who's been playing it for a while, I wanted to let you know what to expect in this gacha game by going through what the game has to offer section by section. I will be getting into detail, so use the description below if you just want to skip to these specific segments. Also, keep in mind this is for the Taiwan version. While they're incredibly similar to the US version, there will be some translation differences, and they might possibly change up the gameplay as well. Okay, let me rip off the band-aid right now. This is a watered-down casual experience of the Mega Man X series. Every character plays almost exactly the same. They have the same ability options, dash, double jump, dash jump, or an air dash, and they all wall climb. All that good stuff. Most hazards won't kill you either. They just take a small fraction of your HP. Just be careful because there are a couple of exceptions. And what weapons your character use are entirely dependent on which weapons you take out on your loadout. You can swap them out, and there is an ammo system that forces a cooldown. It also auto-reloads if you decide not to fire for a set amount of time. For projectiles, there is an auto-aim system. You can toggle it off and on. It helps for touchpad devices, and you can tap which enemy to target, but realistically this manual aim takes too long in Mega Man's action-packed pacing. You can do manual aim by moving the fire button with your right thumb, but I do this more accidentally than intentionally, so I use a gamepad on my phone. There are many projectiles to choose from. The titular Buster that...
By the way, you can't actually charge it up. Charging up is a skill unique to the Mega Man characters.
Cannons, machine guns, bazookas, sprays, whatever the hell this thing is, and possibly even more that I haven't unlocked because this is a gacha game. Swords and sabers also exist, and they pretty much play exactly the same. There is a broken strategy too where you can just hold the attack button and then spam dash to just let it rip. But yeah, don't expect to run in and play like your character right off the bat. For example, you unlock Axel shortly into the game, and I expected to use the twin pistols from X8. Instead, it's just a buster gun that you start off with. Don't get me wrong, there are different weapons for different styles to play, but the only thing that sets each character apart from each other is the two skills that are unique to each one of them. Some characters might focus on offensive skills, others might be for more support. Characters with healing skills can be considered broken for single player modes. For example, my first S rank draw was Cinnamon. She might seem weak at first because all she does is release an aura that buffs everybody inside the bubble and shoot a slow moving syringe, but her abilities start to shine when you rank her up. The bubble gets stronger buffs, can heal, and even create a protective shield that lets you just straight up skip across enemies and hazards like nothing. She's become my little cinnamon bun. Anyways, story mode takes you a trip down memory lane. Except not really. Here, you start off by naming your character. Not enough letters for my name. Perfect. And you're introduced to Rico. She is the administrator of the deblog and tells you that your memories of playing Mega Man X games have grown corrupted due to program errors. So how do you correct these program errors?
Jumping, shooting!
You of course start off on a highway stage.
Geez, how many times did a Mega Man game start us off on this road?
I can't believe I'm back here again.
And thematically, the levels are based off Mega Man X and ZX games, but they're broken up into 6 bite-sized parts. They're more original layouts than anything, borrowing set pieces from the familiar stages, but sometimes straying off the path to introduce a gimmick or two. And while the platforming can be a bit clever at times, they're mostly simple in layout. At least twice per stage there is a segment where you're just stuck and forced to battle enemies before moving on. There are collectibles to find. These dive fragments are hidden in most stages, and you get a little counter to let you know that some are missing. Collecting them gives you small amounts of freemium currency, which I'll get to later in this video. It's just a small but nice incentive to replay a stage, besides getting parts for upgrades. Oh yeah, upgrades. Let me tell you right now, how much damage you do and take is entirely dependent on your power. This handy little counter right here. It is an accumulation of how far you upgraded everything. And I don't mean just your character. I mean their armor, cards, weapon, chip, skills, and even the gallery. This is what will make or break the decision for most folks to play the game. Because as you go through story mode, you'll notice that the recommended power amount keeps going higher and higher until you can barely touch the enemies while they just roll right through you. And that's the thing. These levels can be fun. Sure, they're watered down, but it's still fun to dash through enemies, blasting and slashing your way through the stage. But this power mechanic is hardly balanced. Sometimes you do too much damage, starts to balance out for like a couple stages, and then eventually you're not doing enough damage. And it kinda sucks because you're going to want to blaze through these levels to see what else is new. You can still go through the mines on a minecart, handle the glowing lasers of the Storm Owl stage, and avoid the rocket terrain of Magma Dragoon stage. But overall, it's kind of obvious that the devs preferred X4 out of all the other games. I mean, most stages are based off X4 more than anything else. And some tracks are remixed or just recycled from old games. I cannot express my disappointment over the fact that I reached the forest stage of CX only to hear the Armored Armadillo music in lieu of Greengrass Gradiation. I love Greengrass Gradiation. Why couldn't I hear my favorite track? Is it because of this program error? How do I punch the program error in the face? Oh yeah, the program errors. How does the game create a story with all this crisscross of Mega Man characters joining from multiple franchises? Well, it's simple. Or really, the program errors are just more of an excuse. The game starts off with a look into the digital world. For every player, there is a deep log that contains the memories of you, the player, playing Mega Man.
And occasionally Monster Hunter, let's not ask about that.
Also, Zero Not Zero is here. This guy's name is Via. Him and Rico are your guides, and set you off to correct the memories. It should be obvious, but none of this is actually canon. All the characters you select aren't actually themselves, but hunter programs. Memories of these characters designed to help you clear up the deep log. I'd like to say story mode has an actual story, but all it does is keep teasing and hinting at Via possibly being or once was on the side of program errors. The only interesting thing is that the errors become aware enough to become program hunters, so you get villains like Bit or Magma Dragoon joining the fray, and also Rico. But you won't see much of the story right away because again, the power disparity just keeps increasing. To keep up, you'll need to make sure you upgrade everything along the way. You either use the parts you get from completing levels to research items, or upgrade every little thing you can get. And also at the end of the stage, you're ranked for having a set amount of HP once you clear the stage and clearing it within the time limit. Honestly, this ranking system is pretty lenient. The more stars you get, the more premium currency you're rewarded with. Stages with 3 stars can also be skipped for instant rewards, but be careful. The game does have an energy system that forces you to stop playing for a little bit until your energy recharges with time. You do get an abundant amount of energy just by doing dailies, so the only way you're actually locked out of story mode is if you get too greedy and start skipping until you have no energy left, which is honestly fun to do before you go to bed or something, since you'll just get another hefty boost the moment the dailies reset. There are other game modes to unlock as you play through to supply with different resources to power up. First, let's go through co-op. Another way to power up is to collect armor. You acquire armor by completing co-op stages. You can do private matches or online matchmaking. And remember, I'm playing the Taiwan version, so it can be difficult for me to find a person to play with. I also get really lucky and always find somebody to play with whenever I ask in the global chat, so be sure to use that when you're starting off and can't find anybody to play with. At first, you play these co-op stages solo for rewards. Again, you only get the drops for the first 2 times you complete a co-op stage. But as you unlock more levels, you can get tokens by going back and completing them with a buddy for a random item crate. That's the caveat though, you need to beat it with a friend. And later stages remove the option to play by yourself, so you're forced to use matchmaking after a while. The rewards you get count for every stage you unlock, and every time you increase your power level by 5, you get access to a new part of the stage, and every 10 levels you get a new stage to complete. And of course you get premium rewards for the first time you complete these stages too. There is a glitch where you match up and start a stage with a friend, only to spawn solo. If that's the case and you're doing the play with another person task, then just back out now because it won't count. And the armor you're rewarded with give you randomized boosts as well. So you can check to see if the new armor pieces you get are better. And every 10 levels you get a new set to complete. Any upgrades you put into your current armor transfers over, so you can safely dispose of previous sets and armor for nuts.
That's a lot of nuts!
The online play is mostly fine actually, but remember I'm playing the Taiwanese version, so lag spikes are frequent for me whenever I'm paired with somebody internationally. And if a player goes too far ahead, the other will teleport to their location. Sometimes it creates funky results. Speaking of online play, there is PvP. It's supposed to restrict player levels to create a more balanced scenario. The idea is that you and your opponent spawn on opposite sides. You both get 3 lives, and there's pickups to help you give an edge. But honestly, some characters and weapons are just flat out better for PvP. Hey, check out the Zero. He looks ready to hug my cinnamon bun. Oh man, do you see how many stars he's got? He's gonna wreck my spit. Oh, never mind. He's just idling. Yeah, idling is a frequent thing on X-Dive. See, like everything else, you get daily rewards for doing PvP. I try to get a decent match for this video, but it's either people idling, or me getting overwhelmed by the other player's overwhelming abilities. Or lag. Yeah, that's fair. Thankfully, matchmaking for PvP is quick. But if you want a fair fight, there is ranked mode, which is relatively dead. See, in ranked mode you take 3 different characters instead. I was only able to fight one person and rank up slightly. Again, you get rewards depending on your rank during the season's end, but that's for long-term stuff. For short-term power boosts, play the event stages. Here, you play through certain levels from story mode with an objective. The first event is to power up your dive triggers. Dive triggers are separate from character skills and are equipped to your weapon. They can only be used once per stage, but leveling up your dive triggers increases your power permanently. This first event game mode is simple. Just kill as many enemies as you can in this single room. They come in waves, and those that get destroyed in the lava or the hydraulic press do not count towards your score. The next one is my favorite. This stage is for more zenny. You rush through cyberspace just trying to speedrun through the stage to get a higher ranking. Nothing more needs to be said, and cyberspace is just a really fun level. For upgrading armor, you need to go through this weird warehouse stage. Destroying the containers will occasionally drop this pickup, and you need 10 of them to get the highest ranking for the most rewards. And let me tell you right now, it's incredibly boring. Like, really boring. It's best to use an offensive character that can sweep the area, or just pizza cut your way through with a blade. And the final event is to simply kill as many enemies as you can while the stage slowly pans down. This is easily my least favorite, simply because the scrolling can be a bit too slow, and your run can end instantly if you drop down too fast. These stages give you rewards twice a day, but you can also use skip dive programs to just simply reap the benefits right away. And these skip dives are plentiful. I always end up with even more after using them to skip levels. Kinda makes me question their inclusion in the first place, but whatever. The higher the level, the more difficult they can be. As you level up, you can make the stages more difficult so you can increase the drops. But I say difficult with quotation marks because, again, difficulty is based off power level, and I've always had a higher power level than whatever the stage recommends, so it was never actually difficult for me. Next up on your daily to-dos is challenge mode. There is a boss rush mode where you can pit yourself up against the story mode bosses. And as much as I love fighting bosses, this mode is kinda boring. The power system makes facing them a chore more than anything. It's terrible when you become so strong with your weakest weapons that you can just sneeze and the boss will explode. As you raise your power level, you get more new bosses, and a new boss might be a challenge to some when you first face them. But again, my power level was too high for me to have any real fun. But anytime you first face a new boss, you do get freemium rewards for ranking up high. And again, you can skip boss fights just to reap the benefits if you have enough energy. One of the drops from the bosses are fragments of an EX skill. They're called chips in this game, and chips can be leveled up, ranked up, analyzed to give you a permanent power boost, all that good stuff. Next up is race mode. Simply speed across the stage so you can get items to upgrade the backup system, which is where you store excess weapons to give you a passive power boost. This is the last system that gives you a power boost too, so you might not see it for a while. They cycle out the stages every couple days for race mode, and there is actually a leaderboard that gives you rewards for ranking up high. There's 2 difficulties for race mode. There's normal, which is basically dependent on your power level, and then challenge mode. Challenge mode is something they seriously need to implement across all the different game types. Challenge mode restricts your power level and keeps everything down to a specific difficulty. See, this is what boss mode needs. Even though it sounds hard, it's still a breeze to get through this challenge. And next is my favorite part of the game. The Jakob Elevator. I can do a whole video about this segment. Each stage is a new challenge. Wipe out all the enemies within the time limit and get those juicy gacha freemium rewards. These items aren't the usual cheap resources too. They're really handy to have and can go towards unlocking new characters or EX skills. It's not easy grinding it out though. You're limited to a unique energy system per day. A character can only challenge the Jakob Elevator so much before you have to bench them out. And if you die or lose to the time limit within that stage, then they're instantly out until the next day. There are 3 different difficulties to the elevator, but the stage designs are constant throughout. For example, stage 4's enemies will always be the same in normal, hard, or challenge mode. Can you guess which one is my favorite? But really, even though it's mostly just killing enemies, it's really fun in its simplicity, and some stages require a bit more thinking and careful preparation. For example, be sure to read which weapons get a buff for a particular stage. If you notice that a sword gets a buff, then you most likely will get assaulted by these weird circle things that trap and stun you if you make contact. Only swords can pierce right through them, and if you're playing challenge mode, then selecting the proper weapon becomes imperative later on. If you need a cannon, then you can be damn sure that the enemies will be abundant and tanky, and a good blasting can clear the room much faster than your handy buster. Theoretically, you should be able to blaze through challenge mode faster than normal and hard, since it's not dependent on your power, but challenge mode is not all positive. Like I said, it's grindy. I kinda wish there was a real endurance challenge that let you keep going until you died instead of having to break everything up in these segments, and boss levels are simply designed to act as a roadblock and force you to sacrifice character after character. Every few levels you have to have a boss fight. If you die, then the boss's HP carries over to the next attempt, which is really convenient. You might be able to chew through their health fast enough on normal and hard mode to beat it with a single character, but challenge mode says nah. You're gonna be here for a while, and there are some fights that can feel like it's more luck based than anything. Sometimes the bigger enemy is the short time limit you're restricted to, and some characters just simply have it easier than others. But hey, save up enough of that premium currency and you should be able to roll that lucky character that'll help you power through, right? As much as I love Mega Man, and I love the amount of details the devs put in, and the fan service, why are they so jiggly? This is a gacha game, and it's not exempt from predatory tactics. Premium currency is abundant as you start off, but as you progress through the game, you will notice that you're receiving less and less medals. The currency used to summon new weapons and hunters. This is of course the Skinner boxing effect. You get medals for almost everything you do, but the gap between those medals grow and grow until you're barely receiving a tenth of what you're used to. These medals are what you use for the gacha rolls. You can spend 100 medals at a time for a single draw, or spend 1,000 at once to get a guaranteed A rank drop. New characters and weapons can give a significant boost to your gallery, and unlocking entries can enhance your power, but eventually the boost becomes insignificant later on when more options are available. And of course, when you roll too many times, you start to get the same hunters and weapons. You get items called character patches or weapon patches for rolling the same items, and they can be used to rank up existing ones of your choice, but it takes a large amount of these patches to make a difference. And you can see the percentage of each drop as well. Not very good odds, as you can see. Of course, you can buy more medals in a store, but the prices get absolutely ridiculous. And the worst part is that certain upgrades or drops required paid medals. Want to expand your research by a single slot? That'll be about $20. And a little over 4,000 medals can cost over 100. It really isn't a lot. That's basically 40 tries in the slots, which I've saved up before and didn't get squat. Yeah, good fucking luck if you decide to spend the money. Sure, you get lucky tokens, but is it really worth it for that amount of cash? For a chance for something good at less than half a single percent? Though it looks like I got lucky a few times, you gotta keep in mind that most of my S-rank characters came from banners or just immediate draws. The best time to play is during events though. They happen incredibly frequently, almost every other week in fact. I've only been playing for a little more than a month and I got to experience a Monster Hunter crossover event, 2 different summer theme stages, a boss raid, and now a unique level to introduce a new character to X-Dive. X-Kai? Kai?
Oh, so he calls himself God.
And check out the lore for this character. He's got quite the background for somebody that was just an action figurine. Anyways, the events give you loot based on performance. Playing the unique event stage costs energy that recharges over time, or of course you can spend medals to recharge faster. If you want to climb the leaderboard, that is. So, what is my opinion overall? I like it. I want to like it even more, but it's just aggressively mediocre. I haven't played many other gacha games, so I don't know what the typical sins are. So I'm just trying to compare this to a Mega Man X game. And even then, is it worth the compromise of a real Mega Man game? It is a good time to hop into it now since it's got 2 years worth of content now. Events happen frequently, and there are a lot of daily challenges that you can do. But soon you're gonna get bored of doing the same challenge levels again and again, and you're gonna start skipping them, not because you'll get the drops faster, but because you're so bored of doing the same thing again and again. Instead of actually playing through the stages, you're gonna find yourself just speed running through, just trying to get the dailies done as soon as possible. I mean, it's a gacha game, you can't expect much in terms of variety. Might be a neat distraction once in a while, but it definitely lacks the depth of other Mega Man games, especially when you consider the fact that it needs to be a bit more casual since it's most likely being played on a smartphone. There are bursts of fun to have with story mode getting a bit more difficult, and the Jakob Elevator, but other times it feels more like a chore. If it were up to me, I'd add a better challenge mode for things like boss rushes, maybe make it so you can face one after another, or glue all the stages together for a single large run. And also add an infinite mode to Jakob Elevator, something to make it feel more authentic. actually climb up to space where you get the maximum amount of rewards, but keep going just so you can see how much longer you can last. You can also make it so that enemies can drop basic materials as you play through the stage. You know, give them an incentive to actually go out of your way to destroy the enemies, because as it is now, you're just gonna dash jump through the stage trying to beat it as fast as you can. Your weapons do get experience points for clearing out a level with them equipped, but the experience points he gets, it's very minimal and it's not really a good incentive to go through it. Honestly, the only reason I keep playing is because, well, it's Mega Man. And the game won't find an audience outside of the Mega Man fanbase if it doesn't find a better way to break the mold. Hell, even the characters themselves are a bit bland. Outside of events, the only people that get dialogue is Via and Rico. Give me some trivia. Give me some dialogue from the characters you play as. It can be inconsequential like dialogue bubbles during co-op, maybe a random chance of 2 hunter programs from Crossing Era just having a small exchange. What would Vile say to Ale? Would he think she's Mega Man? What would Pandora say to Zero? Would she mistaken him for Jiro? What would the 4 Guardians say to the original X? Would they see him as a leader or more as a parental figure? What about Mega Man and Mega Man.exe and Mega Man Trigger all meeting up in the same room? What would they say to each other? What would they do? What would Bit say to Copy X? What would Omega say to Sigma? Now that's something I want to see. What I'm saying is you have all these people crossing over from different franchises. Go nuts. And I feel they need to add more stages to story mode because the power disparity just gets too high too fast. I know the reason they're trying to dissuade gameplay is so that you can feel the urge to buy elemental medals, but as it stands, it's mostly X4 stages. I might as well just play the PS1 version. Maybe do what ZX Prequel did and blend different stages together. Come on, they've used gameplay from ZX Prequel in the trailer, I know they can do it. Take some inspiration and add some exciting objectives beyond battle mode. Let's disarm the bombs, let's sneak through security, let's go up and down to dodge the giant laser, traverse the underwater labyrinth.
Actually, no, that part sucked.
Get chased by large mechanoids. Add an actual obstacle course that doesn't involve adding those annoying shells that glue you in the air and stun you for several seconds. This game is fun, but only in short bursts, and it sucks because it has so much potential. Anyways, this is my general review and outline of what the game contains. I'm done ranting. I don't actually have a way to end this video, so just let me know if you think that X-Dive is worth the gameplay or not. I'd be surprised if this video gets more than 300 views, by the way. Anyways, thank you for watching. See ya.